Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. As aforementioned, dual driver in-ear style headphones have become very popular recently, and today we're taking a look at yet another model. This is the Blitzwolf BW-VOX1, and it retails for sub $35. Still makes it a budget-priced and affordable pair of in-ear style headphones or earphones, but it's also a little bit pricier than the competitors that are made by Pilot and other low-cost brands that you can find on Amazon. It has a fairly average 1.2 meter long cable length, and it also includes a hardshell carrying case in addition to a gold-plated 3.5mm plug. Otherwise, what's interesting about the design of the VOX1 is that the dual drivers aren't actually located in parallel. You can see that in typical designs, they might be located side by side, but on here they're actually stacked, which makes it actually look like a regular pair of earphones, just a little bit longer or wider when you look at it from the side because the drivers take up a bit more space. In the packaging, there's access to some thank you cards and user manuals, and below here we have just the earphones packaged elegantly inside the hardshell carrying pouch. And in here we have access to also spare silicone tips to get a more comfortable fit in case the ones that are included aren't the most precise. Before jumping into the design and performance, I'll say that Blitzwolf advertises this as, quote, a hybrid driver earphone, and that gives you two drivers, the first which is dynamic and the second which is a balanced armature driver. The effect, like most dual driver earphones, is giving you a wider soundstage and also more bass. So despite the small size of earphones, and they're obviously not going to pack quite as a punch as a larger over-the-ear style headphones, they do give you a bit richer bass. So if you are listening to EDM music or something with a lot of drum beats, or if you're listening to classical music, you'll definitely appreciate the the enhanced drivers on board. So again, in terms of the design, it definitely looks unique and different from other dual driver earphones, which, here's an example. You can see the two drivers side by side, whereas on here, it's not actually really visible. It's basically stacked, which makes the depth a lot wider of the tips. With that being said, they are still quite lightweight, even though this one does incorporate more metallic and aluminum materials than the traditional plastic. So it seems a bit more premium and high-end from the fit and finish. You can see that there aren't full-size wings, which means that these aren't made exclusively for exercising purposes, but there's this tiny little nub on either side which kind of prevents the ear tips from falling out completely and sits on the outsides of your eardrums, and that does help a little bit. So if you shake your head around, it still stays in place fairly well, but if you are vigorously exercising, there are probably better options available. Now, these aren't active noise canceling earphones, so make sure that if you are taking them on a plane or something, don't expect these to cancel out the ambient noise completely, even though they are already quite snug and noise isolating, and they fit in pretty well. And they were pretty comfortable when I tried wearing these for about 2 to 3 hours. I didn't notice any stress or strain. So otherwise, they look fairly traditional, as aforementioned. The wire itself is a traditional round wire. I kind of wish that these were a flat ribbon wire, or they were braided, some kind of special material just to make them a bit more durable and anti-tangle. But at the moment, they are just very generic, and it's a decent material, decent build, but again, this is definitely a room where Blitzwolf could improve on in a future generation model. The inline remote control, though, is very well crafted. It's oversized, the keys are tactile, they're responsive, and you have access to controls for volume, which are nice, in addition to a play pause key that dubs as the answer reject phone call key when you pair it with a Android or iOS device. The keys themselves are rubbery, and on the other side, there is the microphone, which is also noise isolating, so if you're in outdoor environments, it still works pretty well for test phone calls. And finally, there is that gold-plated connector with the Blitzwolf logo on the other side that fits in pretty well into most headphone ports that you'll have on MP3 players and smartphones alike. So talking a little bit about the audio performance next, we were very pleased with the sound, especially for a budget pair of earphones, which I will say is retailing for under $50. On here they get quite loud, so if you are listening to, let's say, some audiobooks, or if you're watching movies and you struggle with the audio being kind of low, these are actually a good pair to try out because you can hear everything in more detail and it gets quite rich and loud. Otherwise, again, testing it with some basic pop music, EDM music, and even classical music, they performed well. Again, the bass was a lot more thumpier and present compared to traditional in-ear style earphones that you might find at the same price and with a similar design. And with these, I would say the biggest benefit is that kind of understated look. They remain very classy and elegant looking, but at the same time give you that additional driver that's built on in. So overall, I would say that the sound quality here is excellent. They're not perfect, they're not high fidelity, they're not audiophile grade, but they certainly are better than any boxed in-ear headsets you might find for free with a smartphone, and they're certainly worth an upgrade, especially if you're looking for a dual driver or a hybrid driver pair of earphones for a low cost. This is certainly one of the best that I've tested out of the 3 or 4 so far. So you can check out more details about this in our upcoming written review, but for now this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Blitzwolf VOX1.